Alright, thank you everyone for your patience while we set up the second race. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the showcase race of the brand new Illusion of Gaia Randomizer. It just hit the press. It's available on GitHub right now. You can download it and play it as we speak. If you type in the rando command into chat, then you'll be able to get a link to the GitHub page where you can download it yourself and enjoy playing this game. This has been such a wonderful group effort. It's been wonderful getting to know those that are interested in this game. We've amassed such a wonderful community. I wanted to give shout outs to our previous runners who just finished a race at the easy difficulty. DJ Tifa Heart and Psy 990. It was an incredible race. It was a lot of fun to watch. The pace was insane. We expect seeds to be around the 2-hour mark. Psy was able to finish that in an hour 45. So just a really fast-paced seed. It was a lot of fun. Both runners did a great job. Just really thank both of them, not only for racing today, but for being a part of this awesome community and for taking such an integral role in helping make this game be the best that it can be. There have been a lot of changes, a lot of bugs, a lot of stuff along the way, and the patience of all of the playtesters has just been incredible. Best people you'll ever get to know. Also, shout outs to the runners that are up to run right now. We got Mr. Freet and Solar Cell, who are going to be racing at extreme difficulty. So we have 4 difficulty levels that are available to players of this game that they can choose: easy, normal, hard, and extreme. Extreme is, as the name implies, extremely punishing. The difficulty of the enemies is ramped up. I believe that with no upgrades, every enemy is guaranteed to kill you in no less or no more than 2 hits. So our base damage for the lowest enemies begins at 4 HP, which is half of your HP starting off. So it's very punishing, requires very specific movement, kind of dodging around the enemies. The enemies are also much stronger, have more HP. The logic of the game, it's actually in earlier difficulties in easy and normal, you have a little bit of a bias in the shuffle algorithm to give you items that you need in order to complete the seed. That bias does not exist in extreme, so the shuffling is a bit more random. Let's see, your healing items are pretty much trash in this extreme difficulty. At normal difficulty, it's the same as the vanilla game. Every herb gives you an 8 hit point recharge. Here, the herbs in extreme only give you 2 HP, so they're essentially useless. You'll be, later on in the game, the runners will probably just be jettisoning them from their inventory as soon as they get them, because it's really not worth it to keep those on and to take up inventory space. So yes, good luck to both runners. I'm really excited about this race. To give a brief introduction to both of our runners, Solar Cell is a more established speedrunner of this game, has been running this game for a while. He just recently got a PB in any percent under 2 hours, which is incredible for the vanilla game. His movement is really solid. In order to get down to that level of skill, you have to just really get the movement mechanics down. It's a really difficult game to master at that level. Mr. Freet is a fresh face in the speedrunning community for this game. He actually got interested in the Randomizer project. We started this project in February, and it's finally now ready for public release. But in the meantime, he was one of the ones that caught wind of the Randomizer and joined the community and actually kind of became a speedrunner in front of our very eyes. Started speedrunning this game, I think maybe 2 months ago, and has already gotten his personal best for any percent down to 2 hours and 6 minutes, which is also amazing. Just the amount of skill that he's acquired in this short amount of time in playing this game has just been nothing short of astonishing. So I'm so blessed and so honored to have people of this caliber being a part of this project, helping to make this the best possible game it can be. I really, I mean, I would put Solar to be the favorite just because his establishment in this game is so much longer. But Mr. Free's going to give him a run for his money, and if their execution is as good as it is on their best day, then we're going to get to see it really come down to routing choices. Who's going to make the better gambles, who's going to, whose strategy is going to fit best with the seed in particular. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the signal to go ahead and count down. So at any moment now, they're going to go ahead and start, and we'll be off to the races. Thank you, everybody in chat. Thank you especially to those that stuck around since the earlier race, the easy difficulty. Thanks to those who are just now joining us. You're in for a treat. This is a really fun randomizer to watch, and I for one can't wait. And here we go. We are off. Okay, so the way this works is this is a Dark Gaia seed, meaning that... Oh, and we get an ability right away. Solar is hoping that it's not Psycho Slider. Oh, it's Psycho Dash. He's breathing a sigh of relief right now. Okay, so they need to acquire a certain number of Mystic Statues. Hold on, I'm going to check. Hold on. Okay, so we have a bit of a hiccup here. It looks like we had a kind of a difficulty in getting us started. Looks like Solar Cell's waiting for us to catch up. Okay. Okay, so I guess the situation is Mr. Freed accidentally chose the wrong input style. There's two input styles to this game, Type 1 and Type 2. Looks like Solar is being a good sport and is waiting for Mr. Freed to reset and to get back to where we need. Thank you for those behind the scenes that are facilitating this change, and thank you again to Solar for being a good sport and waiting for us to catch up so we can have a good competitive race moving forward. Anyway, so back to how to beat this game. In this run, again, there's currently two goals, two ways to run this game. There's the Dark Gaia run, and there's the Red Jewel Hunt. This is a Dark Gaia run, meaning you have to defeat Dark Gaia, who's the end boss of this game, in order to beat the game. And what that requires is a number of Mystic Statues, which can be randomized. You can also specify the number, but it looks like they need statues 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order to beat this particular seed. So that is Cast Off in the Inca ruins. They have to beat Viper in the Sky Garden. They have to beat the vampires. So those of you that missed the vampire fight last round, we get to see it this time. And then we have Sandfanger in the Great Wall. So they have to acquire those 4 Mystic Statues. We are off again. And they have to acquire the Aura, which gives them the ability to unlock Shadow's form. And they also need to rescue Kara from her painting. In the vanilla game, there's a part in the game where Kara gets trapped in a painting. That's in the Angel Village dungeon. In this randomizer, she can be in one of 5 locations, and those are in what are considered the minor dungeons of the game. Man, we're just neck and neck this early part of the game. We have Lance's letter early, so we know exactly... Oh no, that's sorry, Lola's letter. And that's going to be our ticket off the island here. Ooh, Mr. Freet skipping looking at the jeweler and just going to get items. That's an interesting choice. I respect that choice, actually. Skipping that check and getting a little bit of a leg up on just gathering items, because you're probably going to be doing this anyway, regardless of what the jeweler has. So, bold move. I like that. I like that a lot. Good job, Mr. Freet, getting a little bit of an edge here in the beginning of the game. So... Anyway, so as I was saying, Kara can be in any of the 5 minor dungeons. She can be in Edward's prison in the underground tunnel. She can be in the diamond mine. She can be in Angel Village, which would be vanilla. She can be in Mount Cress or in Angkor Wat. If they find Lance's letter, they'll know exactly where she can be found. But for now, we really don't know. So those are the 2 things you have to do. You have to collect the Mystic Statues and gain Shadow's form. and you have to rescue Kara from her painting, which requires the magic dust. So that's what we're doing right now. But right now, the goal is to get off of the southwest continent. This vanilla game is very, very linear, and that's the first thing that people that know this game, when they discover that there's a randomizer, or when I was recruiting their help to help them with the randomizer, the first thing most people say is, how is this even possible to randomize this game? It's so linear. In the game, once you visit a location, you pretty much never go back. It's just always moving forward. So how do you make a randomizer in such a linear game? Well, you have to break it open, you know, and that's what we've been able to do, which has been really challenging and exciting to do. Ooh, Mr. Freet's getting an ability here. All the abilities have been randomized. Spin Dash, that's a very good ability to get. He's also probably happy that it wasn't Psycho Slide. Psycho Slider negates a lot of the speedrunning techniques that are used in this game, so seeing an early slider for a speedrunner is kind of a bittersweet moment, because it does open up progression, but it also makes it so you can't perform some of the cooler tricks in the game that save some time. So he's probably happy to be able to see Spin Dash there instead of Psycho Slider. So getting off of... So what we've done to open up the game is, in the beginning of the game, you only can access the locations in the southwest continent. Wow, Mr. Freet making really quick work of those slugs, because taking advantage of that Spin Dash, which is amazing execution there by Mr. Freet. He's going to give Solar a run for his money, I can tell already. So the way that we've opened up the game is there are certain items that are in the vanilla game, but that we've kind of revamped to open up different locations in the world. They've already found Lola's letter, which teaches them Morse code, and the way this is used is in the vanilla game. There's an NPC named Seth, who at some point, oh, that dash that Mr. Freet does, I love it every time I see it. Man. Anyway, okay. I keep getting distracted by just being impressed with Mr. Freet's gameplay. Both of the it's been solid from both so far, but again, with Mr. Freet being such a new runner to this game, it's just always impressive to see him pull off some of the harder tricks. I keep forgetting what I'm talking about. Okay, so yeah, Lola's letter learns Morse code, means you can communicate with Seth. Because in the vanilla game, he takes on eventually this kind of sea monster form. Not sure exactly what the thinking is behind the lore there, but if you know Morse code and you can communicate with Seth, he can take you by sea. Oh, Diamond Mine. All right, so we found Lance's letter. We know that Kara is in Diamond Mine, so we have an early reveal of where we can find Kara. He's going to promptly get rid of that letter because he already has the information that he needs from it. And so now he's using that letter right now, and Seth is going to take him across the sea. He chooses to go to the Diamond Coast, which is in the southeast continent. And this opens up one item there in the Diamond Coast. Oh, we're neck and neck. Look at this. Mr. Freet right at Solar Cell's heels. Go into Frisia. We get 5 free items here and a dark space that we can check for ability. If we see an ability here, we know that it's Psycho Slider, because in peaceful locations... Ooh, and the memory melody! This sea just blew wide open. Alright, this is going to be interesting to see the routing choices that these runners make with access to all of these different locations. Alright, so this is going to be an exciting race already, I can tell. So Lola's letter was able to get them here. They could have also chosen to go to Watermia, which is a later location in the game, but would also be a solid pick. The 2 runners before, when they got Lola's letter, actually chose to go to different places early on, and that made for some interesting routing choices between the 2 of them. You can also get the teapot. That's another item that can get you off of the first continent, so to speak. That allows you to access Sky Garden early, and to actually use the Sky Garden as a mode of transportation to some other locations in the world. Now, something that really doesn't happen very often, but could conceivably happen, is another way to get off the southwest continent would be to actually go all the way through the Inca ruins, defeat Castoff, and then take the gold ship to the Diamond Coast. That doesn't really happen much because you're required to have 4 items and an ability before that can happen. And so for the randomization to make it so that all 4 of those are available and the 2 more traditional are not available, it's a very slim possibility, but it is theoretically possible. I've never seen it happen, and I'm kind of hoping at some point to see it to where that's required to get you off. Alright, so we see our first divergence here between the 2 runners. Mr. Freed has chosen to go to Sky Garden, which there's a number of items he can get here, but he does not have Dark Friar yet, which means he can't complete this area. There are 3 items he has to leave behind, assuming he doesn't find Dark Friar in this area, which I think he's gambling that he's going to find. Solar has chosen to go into the diamond mine, and there's actually 2 branches he can go. If he has the elevator key, there's a branch early on that he can take, but this is the vanilla way. You're supposed to go this way first, and you go deep in to find a couple dark spaces, which gives you an ability. He has Spin Dash, which actually allows him to complete this wing. So I respect this choice by Solar to go and knowing that he can complete this whole part right here. Mr. Freet's choice is a little bit more of a gamble because, again, he's counting on being able to find Dark Friar, which is Frieden's ability that allows him to clear this area completely, minus the boss, of course. And you see Solar here using Spin Dash, which is a randomizer-only strategy. You don't have Spin Dash at this point in the vanilla game. Gaining this item. And then we're going to see him go through this ridiculous room where movement is really difficult. And at the end of it are going to be 2 dark spaces that he can check for abilities. Trinex asks, which version of the game is randomized? This is the US version of the game. Alright, so we see Mr. Freet here showing off a speedrunner trick to get past these ramps. First try on the first one, second try on the second one. The vanilla way you're supposed to play this part of the dungeon is you're supposed to take this big loop around, knock down these statues. You just skip all that with this glitch that allows you to get up those single tile ramps. And he does another cool trick there that allows him to be able to access this dark space. Alright, we'll see if Solar gets an ability here, and he does not. Okay, so this is all he can do here. He's going to take a death, and I would be surprised if he didn't go into Sky Garden. Okay, so it looks to me that Mr. Freet... Oh, Mr. Freet gets Aura Barrier. Let's get some rage emotes in chat, because no one wants to see that. Aura Barrier is useless. Oh, and you see Mr. Freet kind of do an angry little dance there because he got Aura Barrier. He was hoping for Dark Friar. That would allow him to be able to clear this dungeon. So he's a little salty right now, I think. Okay, well, Solar does not go into Sky Garden. He takes the memory melody that he found, and he gets rid of that in his inventory. Oh, and he does go into Sky Garden. Okay, so he just frees up an item in inventory by playing that melody for Neil. He can now go back to Neil, and Neil can essentially fly him anywhere in the world he wants to go now. So we see Solar Cell doing what Mr. Freet just did, making his way through the Sky Garden. Yeah, what I was going to say earlier, it looks like Mr. Freet's gamble to go into Sky Garden without Dark Friar doesn't look like it's going to punish him very much, because Solar Cell was not able to find Dark Friar in the Diamond Mine either, so Solar Cell is making the same choice here, going into Sky Garden without that ability. So I'd say we're still pretty much neck and neck here. Even though the runners have made different choices, it hasn't really manifested itself in a difference in routing or in options available to them at this point. Alright, Solar finding a vanilla crystal ball. You need 4 crystal balls in order... Oh, heaven is a place where all the dogs you've ever loved come to greet you. Oliver Gasperitz. Alright, so we have these random death texts that we've put into the randomizer. So every time you play the game, when you die, there's a different text about death. that shows up. And so there's Solar showing off that deck text. Oh my goodness. I've been talking for a long time. I think we have over 50 of those in the game. Oh, looks like we're having some trouble over here with Solar's stream. Let's switch the audio over to Mr. Freet. As much as we love the Sky Garden music. Alright, so now we have Mr. Freet doing what Solar did earlier, going through the diamond mine. I don't think there was anything useful here in Diamond Mine in particular. I don't actually recall. Sai asked, did you talk about inventory management? Yes, inventory management is a very real part of this randomizer. There are only 16 inventory slots that you have available to you. And with a randomizer like this, it's you can be in a position where you really could be holding on to a lot of key items that you really can't use until you unlock different parts of the game. So being able to keep those inventory slots full, or no, keep them empty so that you can pick up items really is a challenge. And so it really gives you a decision in routing. We have Solar here picking up Aura Barrier. He's probably also going to be salty about this. Yep. And so, routing really, the decision of where to go really can enter into what key items can you get rid of in this area, not just what items can you find. Man, Mr. Freet just using those Freet dashes like nobody's business. Oh, and he takes an unfortunate death right there. That's going to lose him some time. That's unfortunate. Anyway. So yeah, so that's the inventory management, and actually the logic of the game tracks your inventory at every step and makes sure that you can't softlock yourself by picking up too many key items that you can't get rid of, and thus lock yourself out. But there could come a time where you have to start getting rid of non-key items. Like, for instance, herbs that you pick up, they're useful if you're not playing in extreme difficulty. Like I mentioned before, herbs only restore 2 hit points worth of damage, which is a full circle on their HP. Not very useful, but the seed could force you could be stockpiling them for a later boss fight, and the seed may force you to get rid of them to make room for other key items, which is just a part of playing this game. I mentioned this before in the easy version of this race, but comparing this to, say, a Link to the Past randomizer, which is a very popular randomizer, the ratio of key items in the item pool in this game is so much higher. Oh, Mr. Freet making a bit of a mistake there. It would have been faster for him to use his spin dash to get that one item up that ramp before going through this long room. If he doesn't realize his mistake soon, he'll be forced to come back through this room just to get that one item that he could have gotten earlier when he could have... Oh, and he takes another unfortunate death. That's sad to see. Solar's gameplay has been solid so far. So I'd put him slightly ahead, just from the way things have been going. Anyway, so the item pool, I believe, is 110 items. Of those, less than 20 are non-progression items. So that means that, and because you have these dungeons that are require you to have multiple items in order to kind of unpeel the onion and to get to the very end and full clear those dungeons. Oh, Mr. Freet's having trouble in Diamond Mine. This is unfortunate. You find yourself in a situation where you're often forced to double dip, triple dip into these areas to keep getting items and to get to the end of these dungeons. And that's just the nature of the beast with this randomizer. We found that, with having such a high rate of finding progression items, whereas in something like A Link to the Past, you know, probably over half the items are, you know, red rubies, you know, those kinds of non-progression items that are helpful, but that don't necessarily open up new locations. It's really interesting to see the difference in play between a randomizer like this and really any other randomizer that I've seen that shuffles items like that. Okay, so we see Solar Cell going to Watermia, cleaning up items here. I think there are 4 items that you can get here, and there's a dark space that you can check. They've yet to find Psycho Slider. And Mr. Freed is also coming here, right on his heels in terms of at least where they are in the moment. Okay, so Solar is now going into Angel Village. There's a dungeon at the end of this that you need Psycho Slider in order to access. So he's making a bit of a choice here. There's only one item you can check. There's one item and one dark space. Here's the item you can check. It's a crystal ball, so not supremely useful at the moment, but he's hoping that this dark space will have Slider, and that would allow him to just keep going and go through the dungeon. Hey, his gamble paid off. Look at that. So he's getting Slider exactly at the moment that he needs it. This allows him to keep going. I'll be interested to see if Mr. Freet holds off coming to Angel Village because he doesn't have Slider. Oh, and Mr. Freet just missing that lily pad. That's frustrating there. Yeah, here we have Solar going through on his way to do the dungeon in Angel Village. This is one of the minor dungeons in the game. Let's go ahead and switch our audio back over to Solar so that we can enjoy this awesome dungeon music. In the vanilla game, this is where Kara's portrait is found at the end. But we know from reading Lentz's letter earlier on that Kara's portrait is actually in the diamond mine. So he's not going to find Kara at the end here, which means he doesn't have to worry about the fact that he does not have the magic dust. If he didn't know where Kara was and he didn't have the magic dust, then coming in here would be a bit of a gamble. If he finds her, that means that he would have had to go through this dungeon twice. He'd have to come through it again, you know, once he had the dust. But since he knows she's not here, he can come in here without fear, knowing that he can just clear it and then never have to come back here again. Alright, so he's making his way through this wind tunnel. We're about to get to a part that has another interesting randomization that we've thrown in. He's about to enter this area that is called Ishtar's Puzzle. Oh, here Mr. Freet is making the same gamble, and it's going to pay off in the same way. Ooh, Solar taking a death there at one of the worst possible spots in this dungeon. He has to go to the soul. Oh, you see him do a little angry dance there for having died at a very unfortunate spot. But Freet picking up Slider in the same space, so his gamble similarly pays off. He's able to go right into the dungeon and clear it out. Anyway, so at the end of this dungeon, there's Ishtar's Puzzle, which gives you a series of rooms where you have to pick out the differences between the two rooms. Speedrunners never pay much attention to it of the vanilla game because they know exactly what the differences are, and they just know exactly where to put their cursor. We've randomized that in the randomizer, so there are maybe between, I think, between 5 and 8 differences that you could see in any room. And so the runners have to pay a little bit more attention to kind of see where those differences show up. So we'll get to show that off soon. Oh, Mr. Freet taking a death there as well. Not as punishing as Solar's, but still not fun. Mr. Freet using spin dash to get through this area, which is nice. Alright, so Solar's about to enter into Ishtar's puzzle, and we'll get to see how these rooms are different, how the differences are randomized. Oh, he's having some trouble. No, I think it was the leftmost, yep, it's the leftmost pot. Turns from light to dark. Yeah, he sees it now. Yeah, so you really gotta pay attention here. Alright, that's the vanilla change in the actual game. That's how. Okay, so red jewel, this could also be a red jewel, which would mean that they trigger a difference in the room. Since there is no difference, he knows it's different, and there's the magic dust. French vanilla magic dust, because you only get magic dust in this dungeon in the normal game. Mr. Freet likes to use spin dash in this room. Let's see if he can do it. Oh, he does it. Good job. Alright, Solar is off to get his final item in this dungeon, take a death warp, and then he's on his way to another location. And it's a useless herb. Alright, Mr. Freet is about to go through the same dungeon. It's interesting to see both runners check this first room. They're really, the only reason they go into that room is to check to see if Kara's portrait is there. I think they're maybe on autopilot because we already know that Kara is in the diamond mine. So they both lose a little bit of time there. Okay, so now Solar's in a position where he's right next to a couple dungeons he could check out. He could check out Mew. He does have one Statue of Hope, and he does have Slider, and that gives him access to all but 3 items in that place. Mew is a required dungeon, and looks like he's going to check it out. Yep, it's not a bad call. There are a number of items that are pretty early on here that he could collect, and Mew has some great music. There's not a bad track in this game anyway, so all the music is great. But yeah, the major dungeons have their own unique music in the background, and Mew is one of those dungeons. The only minor dungeon that has its own music is Inca, I believe. Now Solar could have also gone into the Great Wall of China. He would have been able to get. Oh, there's the Father's Journal. He's going to trash it because it's only useful if he needs the 5th Mystic Statue. Alright, Solar's going to... Ooh, and he pulls it off. That is such an amazing strat. It's really hard to pull off. It looks easy, but it's difficult. The ability to do that backwards jump slash and rebound off of that donut. That's just such a... I love seeing that. That's so fun. It saves time and it looks cool. Yeah, so Solar could have also gone into the Great Wall of China. We'll see if Mr. Freet chooses to go there instead. Both of those choices that are nearby here, neither of them are completable at this point. You need Dark Friar in order to get through Great Wall. And it looks like Mr. Freet's actually going to ditch this continent altogether and go somewhere else. If I were to guess, he has the memory melody. He might be going to see Neil, have him take him somewhere like Euro. You know, a peaceful location that's really rich in items. That's not a bad call either. Yeah, it looks like that's what we're going to do. It looks like Mr. Freet is forsaking altogether, having to make the gamble between going to Mew and Great Wall, neither of which are completable at this point. And he's just going a different route altogether. Yeah, it looks like that's what Mr. Freet's going to do. He's going to go see Neil, and he's going to go to a new location altogether. I love that. I love the potential for divergence that we have in this randomizer, where once you open up the game, there's all these different places you can go. So I like Mr. Freet's strategy here, again, because he's not entering into any dungeons that he may potentially have to go back into again. Maybe this choice allows him to pick up maybe the other Statue of Hope, and maybe another Rama statue that would allow him to full clear this, Mew. Maybe he finds Dark Friar, which allows him to full clear the Great Wall, and he can just one-shot those dungeons altogether. Alright, so as I suspected, Mr. Freet's dipping into Euro. There are 7 items here. He has to leave one of them behind because he doesn't have the apple. But he can still get a good number of items. This line right here that Freet is kind of being a jerk about and making this line back up. In the vanilla game, this line takes, I think, 2 minutes to complete. And it's so annoying that even the 100% in quotes run of this game doesn't collect these items in here because no one wants to sit through that line for 2 minutes. For the rando, we have made that line much faster. So it only takes like maybe 20 or 30 seconds. Mr. Freet finding a vanilla strength upgrade from that guy. Solar having some trouble getting through this area. I believe did he take a death earlier here? I didn't see, but I saw him make his way over here, and he's since had to start that over, so I believe he may have taken a death. But it's just to check this dark space. He's hoping to see Dark Friar. Oh. Is it Dark Friar or is it Earthquaker? It's Dark Friar! Good on Solar for making that gamble. Because this was a very out-of-the-way place to go. It's much faster to get to this dark space if you have both Statues of Hope, but he chose to go the long way around just to check this, and it really paid off. And it looks like he's trying to decide what to do now. Does he want to warp back to South Cape, or does he want to take a death? Looks like he's going to take a death, and if I were him, I would go into the Great Wall. Now that he can full clear that. He can get his first Mystic statue, and that gives him an HP upgrade. Alright, actually he has one more item to gather here. I forgot about that one. And since he has Slider, he can get it. Here we have Mr. Freet going to Dow. He's currently going through the snake game. So get your bonk guesses in for how many snakes he can get. A high number is 100. 102 I think is the most I've seen. 103 maybe. Ooh, Solar down to 1 HP, having to be a little careful here. Oh, looks like he's going to maybe burn through a few of these herbs. Again, in extreme difficulty, they only restore 2 hit points. Whereas in the vanilla game, they restore 8, and if you're playing easy mode, it restores your entire HP. So we'll see if he burns through a few more to give him an extra hit, because he needs more than that in order to survive a hit in this area. Looks like he's just going to go for it. Ooh, almost got hit by that guy. Taking it safe around that snake. Alright. So Solar is done with Mew for now. Again, he'll probably, if I were to guess, he'd probably go to Great Wall of China, because he can full clear that at this point and get his first Mystic statue. Mr. Freet, in the meantime, is using Neil's airplane to go and get 2 items from Babel Tower. He doesn't need to complete this dungeon, which is actually a boss crawl of all the different bosses in the game. But there are 2 items he can get here, and there's a dark space he can check, but he doesn't need to, because he doesn't need any will abilities. And he can get an item from running into this force field right here. And he never has to come back to Babel Tower again. Oh, we see inventory issues on Mr. Freet's side. Solar taking an intentional death there. If you have spin dash, it's actually faster to take a death after getting that item and then just skipping over the rest of the room by doing this. Mr. Freet, in the meantime, warping back to South Cape. That's all you can do once you get into Babel Tower. There's no way out other than warping back to South Cape. We actually had to put a dark space there where it doesn't exist in the vanilla game to give you a way out. Oh, Freak going back into Diamond Mine. I'm gathering from this that he gave up earlier because he was having trouble. He now has a little bit more HP. He found a couple HP jewels, or as Mr. Freak, who's from the UK, would say, HP jewels. I was considering making a patch of this game where every time it said you found an herb, change it to you found a herb, and then call it the Mr. Freak version. But yeah, so I remember now, Mr. Freak was having trouble with this, taking a lot of deaths, and he's giving it a second shot now. I don't think he gets much from this, to be honest. I remember Solar going through this, and there not being much at the end of this. Oh, and he didn't have Psycho Slider last time, so he could take advantage of some glitches that he cannot do now. Alright, so in the meantime, Solar is just making his way through the Great Wall. There are 4 items here that he's already picked up. You can see here that Dark Friar is required to beat to clear this dungeon. He's using that Dark Friar ability right now. And he'll immediately turn around and go turn back into Will so that he can use Spin Dash to get to Sandfinger, who is the final boss of this area, and the first boss that we typically see in these randomizers. Of the 5 bosses that you can fight, the Great Wall is the most accessible. All you need are really two moves in order to get through. You just need Spin Dash and Dark Friar, and that allows you to get all the way to the end and beat the boss. So this is typically the first boss that you see. And Mr. Freak having a moment of clarity where he realizes, oh, I left an ability. No, I left an item back here, and he's probably a little salty with himself for getting this. He could use Spin Dash to get up here. And it's just a red jewel. Barely even worth the effort. But now he takes a death, and he's done with Diamond Mine for now. If he finds the elevator key, which neither of our runners seem to have at this moment, he might be back here to get 2 more items. Potentially 3, if he gets both mine keys. Oh wait, you know what? He has to get both mine keys because we know from Lance's letter that Kara's portrait is in the Diamond Mine. So we're definitely going to see Diamond Mine again from both runners. And here's Solar Cell with his fight against Trollfinger, starting off with the worst possible RNG, which is great. We want to see eggs. That's what we want to see. And there's one of them, because that allows you... See how many hits you can get in on that? Alright, so that's what we're seeing here. Alright, here we have Mr. Freak with a moment of indecision, trying to decide where to go next. He's in Euro, so it looks like he might go to Natives Village, and maybe pick up an item there. Looks like he's warping back to South Cape, actually. Oh, Mr. Freak missing... Oh no, Solar missing a... Oh, it looked like it was going to be a egg, but that was a mistake. Alright, pretty good RNG for Solar Cell there. GG in defeating Sandfinger and getting the first of the 4 required Mystic statues. And as you can see, Solar got a 3 HP upgrade for that. The way that we do upgrades, we haven't talked about it in this difficulty. In the vanilla game, let's switch over to Mr. Freak's stream so that we can hear this fantastic Great Wall music yet again. Great music in this game. Freak clearing items from his inventory. Okay, so we were talking about, again, Mr. Freed taking intentional death. Room upgrades. In the vanilla game, virtually every room that has enemies in it, if you kill all the enemies, you get a stat upgrade. You either get 1 HP, you get an additional strength, which makes you deal more damage, or an additional defense, which allows you to sustain damage better. Because there are so many rooms in the game, that means that you can gather upgrades, a ridiculous number of upgrades throughout the game, and the difficulty of all of the enemies scale according to that. So if we were to keep everything the same from the vanilla game, you would end up with this wildly unbalanced open world, where if a seed sends you into a later portion of the game without giving you the option to get a lot of upgrades, you're essentially in one-hit kill territory, which for Extreme is kind of where you are most of the game anyway, but anyway, it just really becomes not fun. So what we've done is even for Extreme difficulty, we've scaled down the range of strength that enemies can have in this game. And accordingly, we have reduced the number of upgrades you can get. But the number of upgrades you can get is actually dependent on the difficulty that you choose. At easy difficulty, you get, what's 6 times 4? You get 24 total upgrades that are available in the game. Strength, defense, and health. And that ends up being 4 upgrades per boss. The way that upgrades work in this game is that if you don't clear out rooms, Solar making his way to the Seaside Palace. He doesn't have any items that would allow him to full clear this area, so he has to leave 2 behind. So this is a bit of a gamble. Bling Bling, he gets the crystal ring. So if you skip room upgrades and you go to the boss over an area, when you're defeating that boss, you get all of the upgrades from those areas that you missed. And so when you see a speedrun of this game, you'll never see anybody clear a room. There are some rooms that only have like 2 enemies in it that you may see as a safety strat. Some people choose to get. The front room in Pyramid is one that I'm thinking of. There's one room in Angel Village that only has 2 in it. But other than that, for the most part, speedrunners skip those upgrades. So in this game, in easy difficulty, there are 4 upgrades per boss, which essentially averages out to, between 2 dungeons, a major dungeon and a minor dungeon, you'll have 4 rooms that you can clear for upgrades. In normal difficulty, it's 3 per boss, so that's 18 total for the whole game. Hard, it's only 2 per boss, and in Extreme, it's only 1 per boss, and they're all HP upgrades. And because we balanced strength and defense for all of the enemies, that means that strength and defense upgrades are much more powerful. And so to balance that, we've made every room clearing HP upgrade actually equal to 3 HP, as opposed to just 1 HP, to help that balance out. So that's why every time you see someone here in Extreme defeat a boss, they get 3 HP for their trouble. Hobo Jim asks, what do enemies scale do? I'll explain that a little better now. So, enemies have strength and defense and health, just like the player does, where the strength determines how much damage they deal, and their defense determines how much damage they take. Now, if we were to leave... Oh, Mr. Freed's going to try this strategy too. Oh, and he pulls it off as well. I love that so much. That's so much fun to watch. GG, both of our runners for pulling off that strategy. Oh no, Mr. Freed takes a death there. Anyway, so if we left it the same, then you would end up at, in the pyramid, enemy strengths being like in the 50s and 60s, meaning that if you have to be there sent early in the game and say you have no upgrades, that means they're dealing 50 damage to you, which is way more than even at full HP what you'd be able to sustain. Plus their defense would be super high, meaning that every time you hit them, you're taking off 1 HP from like a total HP of 30. So it would take like maybe 30 hits to even defeat just normal enemies in those areas. So that's not fun. So that's what I meant by scaling down, is that enemies in later areas of the game, I believe in Extreme, the highest strength they can have is maybe 18, which is still a lot, considering that you only get one defense upgrade, I believe. You get 2 strength upgrades in the item pool. So that's still a lot of damage that you're taking. I believe in easy difficulty, the max strength of an enemy is around 4. Maybe it's 4. So it's pretty accessible. We wanted to make it so that people playing this game for the first time can really have a good time playing it. And there's some other goodies in the easy mode especially that really kind of lower the barrier for entry for folks. We have an in-game map tutorial tracker that you can run around, and it'll tell you for each area that you hit how many items are in that area, how many items you've collected already, to kind of help you navigate your way that way. At all difficulties, and we showed this off in between the races, there's actually a tutorial item. There's a blue journal that you can acquire from the NPC that's standing in front of the school in South Cape, and that gives you some tips on how to beat the game and what you can do if you're stuck and all that kind of thing. So we really wanted to make this game enjoyable for folks that would play it and to reduce that barrier to entry. Anybody at all who is interested in playing this game, you can join us, join the community on Discord. If you hit the rando command in chat, you'll get both a link to the GitHub where you can download and play this game right now, and also a link to our Discord community where you can come and ask questions. It's the nicest community you're ever going to meet. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Just come if you have any questions, if you have any interest at all. You know, just come and you'll find somebody who is willing to help you and be kind and you know, everybody loves this game who's a part of it, and it really comes through in just how nice everybody is to each other. So come on in, the more the merrier. Thank you, Steve Hacks. I appreciate that. Hobo Jim asks, so the enemies are static on seed generation? Yes, they are. Eventually, I want to create an enemizer version of this, like other randomizers have. Oh, Solar Cell is in Inca Watt. This is my favorite music, so we're gonna have to, we have to switch our audio over to him. Oh, these bugs are the worst. Alright, so Solar, getting past these bugs, especially in extreme difficulty, requires such precision and focus and skill. You know, he got hit once and it almost took him out. And you can see that these guys are brutal in how they attack. And their defense is also super high. So this is a really a big choke point. Solar pulling it off, of course, with characteristic flair and panache. Yeah, Mr. Freet has been sitting on that 1 HP for a while. Really taking a gamble here and really trusting his gameplay, which again is solid for this game. Anyway, so yeah, eventually I want to have an enemizer where enemy stats, the actual enemies that show up, can be shuffled depending on the seed. But that's down the road. I'd also like to have an entrance randomizer. Mr. Freed having a little trouble with this area, but he'll get through it. There he goes. Okay, so Solar is making his way through Angkor Wat, which is the first time we've seen this place. This is the 5th and final minor dungeon in the game. I think it's the only. I think I mentioned this before. It's the only minor dungeon to get its own music, which, as I think I mentioned, is my favorite music in the game. But it's huge. I mean, it's a very big dungeon. There are, I think, 2 save points. One of them is right here, where if you die, you actually don't go back to the beginning. You go back to this area. This room, this garden here, is like the worst for the casual player. It's so difficult to find your way through, but both of our runners familiar with it enough to where they can make their way through, no problem. Mr. Freet finding Dark Friar, and is probably very happy about that. Both the runners now have all the abilities that they need. It looks like Mr. Freet actually has all 6 abilities. which gives him a little bit of a time save in Anchor Watt and being able to use Earthquaker instead of having to use Dark Friar, which we're going to get to see from Solar here pretty soon, I think. Ooh, Solar having trouble with that bug right there. Those flies are the worst. Oh, Solar giving me a heart attack here. Mr. Freet, following in Solar's footsteps from earlier, going to visit Itori Village. Meanwhile, Solar is showing off the glitch that allows you to get past this area without Earthquaker. It's especially tedious in extreme difficulty where your strength is so low. It takes many hits with this very precise setup in order to get by. And all the while, this Gorgon is trying to make life difficult for you. Solar not taking any chances with his 1 HP and just getting rid of him right now. And he's finally gone. Mr. Freet making his way through Itori Village, which you need Lola's Melody in order to even access. Finding himself his second Statue of Hope. So we'll probably see him go back. Well, we'll definitely see him go back into Mew. Both runners need to beat the boss in order to do that. And they both have their 2 Rama statues, which unlock access to the vampires. So they'll be doing that at some point. Solar Cell giving us all a heart attack with that 1 HP, but making it to the checkpoint no problem, taking an intentional death there so that he can turn into Will, which allows him to progress further. Mr. Freet's making his way to the Sky Garden so he can free up some inventory space, get rid of some of those crystal balls. He can now clear this area that he has Dark Friar. I don't know if we've seen Solar do this yet. So I think this might be new territory for us watching this. Okay, so it looks like our runners at some point have found the magic dust. Oh, Mr. Freak getting sniped there in Sky Garden. That's an unfortunate place for that to happen, but it's common. That happens a lot. Mr. Freak trying his luck in a different room here. Alright, here again we're showing off this room on Solar Cell's side. You're supposed to have the black glasses, which make it so you can see in this room, but speedrunners never use it. They can just get through it blind like that. Alright, so they both found the magic dust. In order to rescue Kara, they're going to need the elevator key and both mine keys, because we know that Kara is in Diamond Mine. Neither of them have any of those items, so that's going to be interesting to see when those show up. Let's see, Solar has gotten his 4th Mystic statue, or rather, the 4th Mystic statue, which is his first Mystic statue that he's received, or earned, rather. And both have the ability now to fight the vampires, which is the 3rd Mystic statue. So they both have access to 2 of the Mystic statues that are required for this seed. In order to get Mystic Statue 1, they already have, or Solar has found the Diamond Block, which gives him access to Inca Ruins. You also need the Wind Melody and 2 Inca statues, neither of which... oh, it looks like Mr. Freet found the Wind Melody. Okay, so Mr. Freet has the Wind Melody, Solar has the Diamond Block, and it looks like they both have 1 Inca statue. So they'll both need to catch up with each other, get that Inca statue that gives them access to Cast Off, which is the first mystic statue that they need. For the second one, they both have 3 crystal balls. They need a 4th in order to fight Viper, and that gives them access to that. And finally, they both need to find the Aura. The Aura is always required for Dark Gaia seeds because you need to be able to use Shadow's form to be able to fight Dark Gaia. Now, something interesting about the randomizer is that finding the Aura at any point in the game gives you the ability to use Shadow's form. Shadow is a form that you have 3 forms in the game you can fight as. You can see Mr. Freet now changing to Freedan, which is your second fighting form on top of Will. And then in the Pyramid, which is like almost the last dungeon of the game in vanilla, you gain Shadow form, which does additional damage and has a cool ability to melt into the floor. And if you find the aura early, then you have the ability to unlock that form as early as you can. So you can get through a lot of the earlier dungeons with Shadow, which is kind of fun to watch. But Shadow is required in order to complete Dark Gaia seeds. So those are the items that they currently need to be in Go mode. So we have a bit of a ways to go. Coming up on the 1 hour mark. Again, most seeds hover around 2 hours or so. We've estimated about 2.5 hours just because we never know how trolly things can get. Alright, Mr. Freak cleaning up in Sky Garden, which again, I believe Solar Cell has not yet had the opportunity to do. So there are 2 chests over here that Mr. Freak can check. Here, let's switch our audio back over to Mr. Freak so we can listen to this awesome Sky Garden music. Mr. Freak finds a Moo Palace key, which is somewhat useful. It can speed up movement around the overworld there. I don't think we've talked much about overworld movement in this seed, or in this this difficulty, but we have retrofitted some of the items in the game that don't necessarily have a use, you know, in a randomizer like this, and we've made them progression items that allow you to access different areas of the game. So, like, we've seen them use the memory melody, and the lore that we have here is that Neil, who is the inventor type, kind of the Leonardo da Vinci of the game, he's invented an airplane. In this game, he's forgotten how to fly it, so you need to play the memory melody for him in order to utilize that airplane and essentially get anywhere else in the game that you want to. Lola's letter allows you to know Morse code, which allows you to communicate with Seth, who is an NPC that turns into some kind of fish river monster thing. Don't ask me what the thinking is behind that. I could not tell you. But anyway, so you can use that to be able to communicate with him via Morse code, and he can take you around different parts of the world. The teapot allows you to use the Sky Garden as sort of a vehicle to access different parts of the game. You can use the will to earn you some crux, which are these kind of camel, kangaroo type animals that can take you from between Watermia and Euro. And then finally, the large roast, you can turn that into the natives village, and one of the boys can take you as a guide to Dao. And so those are the ways that we've kind of retrofitted some of the items in the game to act as world opening situations. Alright, we see Solar here going to Euro. My guess, it looks like he has all 3 mushroom drops. I think that allows him, I think he's going to go and do Mount Crest right now, which is the mushroom area. He can full clear that area. You need spin dash and 3 mushroom drops to get all 5 items in this area. Meanwhile, we see Mr. Freak going now into Great Wall of China, where I anticipate that he's going to defeat Sandfinger and get his first Mystic Statue. And indeed, Solar Cell has made his way to Mountain Temple, which looks like neither a mountain nor a temple, so have fun with that. But this is an interesting place to be in a casual run. It's very maze-like, so you know, to be able to play this game enough to where you can get around as quickly as these runners are doing is impressive. Again, we have great music here in the Great Wall of China. Everybody in chat who's familiar with this game, what's your favorite piece? What's your favorite music from this game? Ooh, Solar taking a death there. It's not too punishing because he was kind of late in that branch that got him to that item. So you can see him working out some of his frustration at taking a death. But in all actuality, it wasn't too bad. Alright. Arn Lore says the overworld theme. Nice. Megan's Box says Sky Garden. That's a popular one. I know that's Mr. Freet's favorite. Sai says In the Earthen Womb. Where does that show up in the game, Sai? Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So in the rando that plays when you play the memory melody for Lance. Not for Lance, for Neil. It'll play that song. That's the only place I think you can access it in the randomizer. But yeah, that's a good one too. Dun, 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 dun. It's pretty. I've said it many times. There's not a bad piece in this soundtrack. All right, Mr. Freet off to fight Sandfinger. We'll see how nice RNG is to him right now. Not the greatest. I remember Solar's fight starting off the same way, with the worst possible pattern. Oh, Mr. Freet having some trouble getting damage on him. There we go. Meanwhile, Solar's making his way through the mountain temple. Showing off his very precise movement through all of these mushroom paths. He finds the large roast, which he does have access to both Dao and Natives Village, so it doesn't open up any progression, but it does make movement between those locations a little easier. Or at least from Natives Village to Dao. It does not work the opposite way, unfortunately. Yeah, if only we could get a hold of the creator of the game and have him change that. Yeah, Mr. Freet is not having good RNG luck here at all. We want to see those egg patterns from Sandfinger here, and Sandfinger is just being very, very withholding with anything that allows him to really get a lot of good hits on him. Looks like Mr. Freet is nearing the end of this fight. You can see him working out some of his frustration at the RNG that this boss is giving him. Oh my goodness. Where are the eggs? Show me some eggs! Alright, 2 hits on him. And time for his last hit here. There we go. And he gets the 3 HP and the Mystic Statue for his trouble. By the way, if anybody in chat has questions about this randomizer, we have lots of folks from the community in chat. Most notably Sai990 and DJ Tifa Hart. They just finished their run of the easy difficulty of this game, showing that off. And they're doing an awesome job at fielding questions that folks have. Solar getting an Inca statue there at the end of Mount Cress, which allows him now. He does have all the items he needs to complete the Inca ruins and get Mystic Statue number 1. Oh, what's happening here? Oh no, it looks like we're dropping frames. Okay, looks like we're stable again. Apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. We had some some internet difficulties there for a while. Kaum asks, are the mystic statues always from the bosses in the randomizer? I assume what you mean is, will the same bosses always give you the same mystic statues? And for now, the answer is yes. Eventually, I would like to have a boss shuffle, and perhaps even a mystic statue shuffle, where, depending on the seed, you could get different bosses giving you different mystic statues. And if that were the case, we would add in some sort of in-game spoiler to where you can find out ahead of time which bosses do what. Alright, well, let's bring up Solar Cell's sound so that we can get this wonderful Inca Ruins music. Alright, so as we all suspected, Solar is coming in here to get his first mystic statue. He has everything he needs to full clear this dungeon. And it looks like this is his first time dipping in, except maybe in the very beginning when he got the one item. That doesn't take very long to get. So he'll be able to go start to finish without a hiccup, hopefully. Kaum follows up and asks, will the statue be found in a chest someday? I don't think so. I don't see us ever going that random. Again, kind of taking a page from the way the Link to the Past and other randomizers do it, is that the prizes that you normally get from defeating bosses will always come from defeating bosses. You won't find a situation where you can get, for instance, like a crystal in Link to the Past from a chest. And I think that's the way to do it. So I think that's how we'll do it here. Oh, Mr. Freed getting a very unfortunate spawn from, those guys are called flashers. Getting a very unfortunate flasher spawn. And him just kind of giving up. I think there was one item that he left behind. I don't recall what that item, if that item has been picked up between our two runners yet. Tifa and Sai both correcting me and saying that they're called Wiz Robes. This is incorrect. Just saying that for the record. Regardless of the similarities of the Wiz Robes in the Zelda series. Okay, so this is a room on Solar Cell's screen that you will never see in a speedrun. Solar trying to take that save and then out of spite, murdering that four-way. Oh, that tickles me so much. Anyway, so this is an area that you never see in a speedrun because the only reason you would come here casually is to get this melody, which is the wind melody. And of course this is randomized, so he's going to get any number of items here. But this, there's a room full of golden tiles, and playing this melody in that room allows you to see which tile you need to stand on for about 10 seconds to get through the door. If you're speedrunning this game, you know where to stand. You know which tile it is. But in the randomizer, we've randomized which tile it is, so you absolutely need this melody if you're going to get through and get the first statue. And we will actually see that happen later on, because we have the wind melody, and we'll be seeing that in action. I don't think we got to see that last seed, so that'll be fun to show that off. Other things that have been randomized, we saw Ishtar's puzzle earlier. The differences between the two rooms in the puzzle can be randomized. We see Mr. Freak here taking on his nemesis, which are these wall bugs. Doing a great job, making short work from so far. Looks like he has a strength jewel that Solar did not have when he came here last time, and going through those with no difficulty at all. GG, Mr. Freak. So Ishar's puzzle is randomized, the differences in the rooms, and also the order of the hieroglyphs in the pyramid is randomized. There are these 6 hieroglyphs that you find that allow you to find make your way to the Mummy Queen, which is the boss of the pyramid. If you're a speedrunner of the game, you ignore the Father's Journal, which reveals the order because you know the order. However, in the randomizer, those have been randomized as well. So if you need Statue 5, which we don't need in this seed, then you will absolutely need Father's Journal to pick up what that order is. Sai says, in before vanilla tile. We shall see. This is another room that Solar is in that you'll never see in the randomizer. The reason this is here is to change from Frieden's form into Will's form so that you can use the melody, but like we said, because we don't have the melody and we don't need the melody in the vanilla game, you never have to come here. But now he has to change back to Will so that he can use that wind melody and actually find out which tile he's supposed to stand on. Mr. Freet making his way relatively unscathed through that garden. One of the worst rooms in the game, in my opinion, especially for casual players. All right, so here he is playing this melody, and we'll see which tile lights up. In the vanilla game, it's in the lower right kind of area, and we get to see pretty soon which one it is now. Oh, it's so close to vanilla. I think it's one off. The one to the right in the game is the one that normally gets eliminated. Lower game sound? I will do that, Ezraman. Apologize. Alright. Hopefully that's better. Thank you for pointing that out. Alright, so Sai was pretty close in his prediction that it would be vanilla. Alright, Solar is off to fight Castoff, and again, if he had the aura at this point, he would be able to fight Castoff as Shadow, which would give him an extra attack and would almost guarantee a one cycle. If he one cycles this would be that would be a frame perfect feat. So we're expecting 2 cycle, but get those PogChamps ready if he one cycles this boss. Now, something interesting about Castoff is that even if Castoff is not required, there is an item hidden behind him. Defeating Castoff gives you access to the gold ship, which has an item on it, and so even if one is not required, statue 1 that is. Hey! Let's pull out those PogChamps for that one cycle, Solar. GG. Good job. It requires both perfect execution and a bit of luck on when Castoff becomes vulnerable there. Excellent work. GG Solar on that fight. But here's the one item. This is actually an item that Seth in the game gives you, but we gave it to this guy right here. And it's 2 red jewels. Probably not required. Sai says it's close to frame perfect. Okay. So maybe there's a few frames that are... There's a bit of a leeway there. But here's the second Mystic statue that we've seen an hour and 10 minutes in. You can see how it would be difficult to... what do I want to say? It's late in the game for this randomizer to give you the ability to fight bosses. And so if you're holding off getting those room upgrades and instead expecting to pick them up from defeating bosses, then that means you're going through a lot of the game without a lot of upgrades, and so that makes it difficult. And we've had deaths, unintentional deaths from both runners today, so we can see how difficult it is. Okay, well, Mr. Freet is in my favorite dungeon for music, so we're going to move our audio over to Anchor Watt. There's Solar turning in his apple into Anne for an item. I didn't catch what it was. Oh, Aura's behind the apple. Okay, thank you, Sai. Alright, so Aura is a required item. And it looks like he's going to use that Aura, and he's going to go immediately to the Pyramid. Now that he has the Aura, he has access to most of the items there. Pyramid has a whopping 12 items, which is more than 10% of the total items in the game. So Pyramid almost always has something in it. So we'll see what Solar is going to get over here. Taking an account of what items we need for Go mode, we have the Magic Dust. So once we get the Elevator Key and both Mine Keys, then we can rescue Kara. So those 3 are required. We need to defeat Viper, which requires 1 more Crystal Ball. And I believe that's it. I think that's Go mode for these runners. Once they find those items, then the game is as good as beaten. Sai says, can't believe they're saving the vamps for last. I can't imagine why they would do that. The vamps are free. Such a free fight. All the Kappas. Okay, once Mr. Freet makes his way out of Angkor Wat, we'll switch the audio over to Solar so that we can hear the lovely pyramid music. Okay, so as I understand it, these runners have made a sort of a gentleman's agreement to hold off what's known as the Killer Six until all of the rooms in the pyramid have been cleared. So room 3 in the pyramid contains these 6 orbs that are in this narrow corridor and are all shooting at you, and you can't block those shots. And especially in Extreme, there's really no good way to survive that. Ooh, Solar being 1 pixel to the left on getting an early entrance into that door. But that requires some very, very tight execution and also a little bit of luck just to be able to survive that in extreme difficulty. So we won't see either of these runners enter into that, go for that item until they've cleared out every item in the pyramid. Alright, so Mr. Freet making his way through Mount Cress. This is also his first time coming here, and he has all the mushroom drops. Perfectly able to complete this dungeon in 1 go, which is very nice. Now it's very interesting to be at this point in the game and to not have a single item that allows progression through the diamond mine, which is where we know Kara is. To refresh everybody's memory, in the Dark Gaia Seed, you're always required to rescue Kara from her portrait, and that portrait can show up in one of the 5 minor dungeons of the game. Early on, we got Lance's Letter, which is a spoiler item that tells you where Kara can be found. So we've known from the beginning that Kara is in the diamond mine. And 3 items are required to get to the end of the diamond mine, the elevator key and 2 mine keys. Neither runners have found any of those, so I'm expecting to see some of those show up in the pyramid where Solar is right now. Oh, and speak of the devil, there's one of the mine keys. Okay, so this is room 3, which contains the Killer 6, but since he's coming here as Will, we know that he's not going after the Killer 6 item. There's actually an item behind Spin Dash that you can get to as Will. And he's just going for this item real quick and is going to take a death. And it's a defense jewel. That's the only defense upgrade that an extreme runner, a runner at extreme difficulty, will ever receive, because you're not going to get any defense upgrades from clearing rooms or defeating bosses. There's only one defense upgrade in the entire game in the item pool, and Solar just found it. So that allows him to reduce by 1 the amount of damage that he'll take from enemies. Trinex is asking, what's the % chance of clearing the Killer 6 on Extreme? It really depends on execution. There's a big amount of it is execution. There's this one tile that you can stand on, where if you get there and you just spam attack at the right rate, you can take advantage of the iframes of the orbs, and they won't attack you. But it does require a little bit of RNG, because just getting to that position requires them not to fire at you in those frames in between when you get there. And there's the second mine key that Solar just picked up. Still can't use them until he finds that elevator key, though, so we're looking for that. So, someone in chat, someone who is like a machine at this game, if they perfectly executed it, what would you say the chances of them being able to, what % chance do you think RNG plays in being able to get past the Killer 6? Wilden says that it's theoretically 100%, so I guess luck doesn't enter into it at all. I suppose you could be perfect in your execution and not have to worry about it. Oh, Freak taking an unfortunate death there in Mount Cress. Everyone follow our runners, please. If you type in, I believe, runners in chat, you'll see a link to everybody's Twitch channels. If you sub to Mr. Freet, you get access to the Freet Gasp emoji, or emoticon, whatever they're called. Emote, we'll call it. We can't hear... Ooh, Mr. Freet doing that very well. That little area of execution was very well done. Mr. Freet, I knew that he gave one on that death. He gives a nice little Freet gasp, and that's the emote you get from subbing to him. And of course, subscribe to Solar Cell as well. Our previous runners, Tifa and Sai, you can follow them as well. Don't follow me. I'm never on Twitch, so there's really no point. But if you want to come show some love and give me a follow in the rare time that I'll come on and stream this, or maybe I'll stream a Zelda 2 rando, be my guest. We'd love to have you. Thanks, Somerset Jayhawk. I appreciate it. Ha. Solar gets one of the nothing items. We mentioned this in the earlier race. In the vanilla game, there are 2 chests that are empty in the Mew dungeon. And the reason why they're there is to teach the player this gimmick in that dungeon of where you see 2 statues looking at each other, where their gazes intersect, there's an item there, and that's supposed to teach you where to look for certain items. And so they just have 2 empty chests there to teach you that gimmick. So of course we left those empty items in the item pool, so you could come across an item and it's nothing. You get nothing for your trouble. And Solar showing a little bit of rage there. Alright. So, Solar has gotten enough red jewels to enter into the secret dungeon behind the jeweler. In the vanilla game, you need all 50 red jewels in order to be sent to this dungeon. And but this has been randomized in the randomizer. I think it's between 36 and 50, depending on the seed. There's a lot of lag in this area, so you'll see Solar trying to, when convenient, killing off some of these eye guys, which the biggest culprit for lag in this area. That combined with you see the kind of the spirits, doing that haunted mansion thing over the top. Ooh, Solar taking a death there. This is essentially one-hit KO territory, so he's being real careful with all these spin dashes, taking the time to do it right. But every once in a while you just get sniped. So yeah, the last race required 49 out of 50 to get to this area. There's a couple reasons why one would come here in the randomizer. One is this is an alternate method of getting... Oh, look at that lag. This is an alternate method of getting the 6th Mystic statue. You can get the 6th Mystic statue by the intended way, by going through the Tower of Babel and performing the boss rush, climbing the tower that way. The faster way, if you have the red jewels to pull it off and to access this area, is to go through here. This is faster than doing the boss rush, provided you don't take deaths and you execute it well. Statue 6 is not required in this seed, so he's not really looking for that statue, though he might choose to fight Solid Arm for the HP upgrade. I can't imagine him doing that, so he's really here for this one item that is in the very back of it, and it very well could be a required item, and we'll see very shortly what it will be. Oh, it's useless, and look at the rage. He came here for no reason, and he's not happy about it. So that was a gamble, coming here to get that item, and it ended up, being nothing at all. Sorry about that, Solar. I'll try to randomize it better in the future. In the meantime, let's switch our audio back over to Mr. Freet, because he's in the Inca ruins, which has lovely music. He's going after that Mystic Statue number 1, getting his statues in the same order as Solar Cell has. Alright, Solar's making his way to Edward's prison. He's not going to be able to complete this because he doesn't have the necklace. He needs to have Lily with him in order to progress to the end of this dungeon, but he can get a number of items because he has the prison key. Looks like Mr. Freet hasn't found the prison key yet, so maybe he'll find it here in the Inca ruins. Alright, let's see if Solar can get the one cycle here, and he pulls it off nicely. Look at that. Alright, so there's 2 more items he can get here. There's a chest over here, and then there's a chest in a room. Oh, Gorgon Flower, there's another fetch quest for him to go do his homework on. He can go to Native's village and get an item for that. And after making his way through this room, he'll do all that he will have been able to do at this moment, going through the underground tunnel. If he ever finds the necklace, he can come back for, I believe, 2 more items. And an herb. Alright, so we'll see if that Gorgon Flower gives him anything of note. Taking a look at his inventory to see what options he has. Oh, forgetting that he doesn't have Lily with him. So going into that room and realizing, oh, I can't go any farther, so best thing to do is just take a death and probably go turn in that Gorgon Flower. Let's see if that's something that leads to something good. Yeah, Somerset Jayhawk asking if this is Solar's first trip to the prison. Most runners will dip into the prison early on. There's only a certain number of items that are available to you at the beginning of the game until you find the items that open up other locations. One of those items is you can go to the prison early and get an item from Hamlet, who in the vanilla game brings you the key to get out. It also allows you to check a dark space there. So, same with the Inca ruins. Most runners, unless they get a progression item off the island, super early, they'll dip into Inca ruins for that one item, and they'll also dip into the prison for that item. It doesn't take too much time to make those checks. Mr. Freet, making his way through Inca ruins, actually having to use the intended strategy to get through there because he has Psycho Slider. Speedrunners of the game, because they don't have Psycho Slider at this point, take advantage of a technique that allows them. You're intended to have Freeden's form to use his long sword to kill that enemy that allows you to progress, but with some precise attacks and movement, you're actually able to use Will's flute to get enough reach to barely get through that area. And there's Mr. Freet finding the prison key. Solar must have picked up the necklace and maybe didn't mark it down, because it looks like he's on his way to go see Lily. Oh, yep, okay. So it looks like Solar picked up the necklace somewhere. I didn't see where that was, but having Lily with him grants him access to... he's able to progress in Edward's prison, which looks like he's going to do right now. The statue had the necklace, thank you. Okay, so this is what the seed... Looks like this is where the seed is sending him. They gave him the Gorgon flower, which gave him the necklace, which now allows him to have Lily with him. So this gives him the ability to progress completely through Edward's prison. Gives him 2 more items. He also can go to the Seaside Palace and get an item from a coffin in there. He needs Lily as in flower form to be able to get through that, the small slit in it. And here we see Mr. Freet using his wind melody to illuminate what we know to be very close to the vanilla location of the gold tile that allows him to progress. And we'll see a cast-off fight from him very soon. Okay, so this will be the first time that we'll get to see, having Lily with you, what it does in the randomizer. I don't think we got to see it last round. So he makes his way in here. You can see Lily's flower over there. They have to coordinate when they hit these switches at the same time. And so this is what having Lily with you provides for you in the underground tunnel. Oh, I stand corrected. Tifa reminded me that Kara was here in the first race. This is one of the locations that Kara can be, so I apologize. But we do get to see an early use of Shadow. You definitely don't have Shadow at this part of the game in vanilla. We see Solar taking advantage of the fact that he has the aura, completing the rest of this dungeon with Shadow, which is fun to see. And here Mr. Freet is going after Castoff. Let's see if he can match Solar's one cycle. Ooh, it's going to be close. Oh, didn't quite make it. Yeah. In the meantime, Solar is cutting through this area like butter with the extra 2 attack that he gets from having Shadow's form. And there's the final crystal ball. That allows him to fight Viper and to get that second Mystic statue. That means that all the statues that are required are accessible by Solar Cell at this point. The only item that he needs for Go mode is the elevator key, which allows him to use those 2 mind keys and to rescue Kara. Alright, so there's the Purity Stone. That gives him access to both of the items he left behind in Seaside Palace now that he has Lily with him. So I'd imagine he'd probably go to Seaside Palace after this. So here Mr. Freed is collecting Mystic Section number 1. Oh, this is worked out nicely for Solar. It turns out, just like in the vanilla game, after you fight Viper, it sends you automatically to the Seaside Palace. So it was nice that it worked out this way for Solar, being able to have the items he needs to fight Viper. He immediately gets sent to Seaside Palace, and he can pick up the 2 items that he left there from the items that he just picked up. Alright. Him showing off actual useful use of an herb, even in extreme difficulty. Eating an herb right here gives him an extra hit from Viper, so he's no longer in one-hit KO territory after eating that herb. Oh, good thing too, because he took that hit right at the end. If he hadn't eaten that herb, that would have been rip and start over on that fight. Alright, let's see if Solar can get the elevator key from one of these 2 items in the Seaside Palace. If he does not find the elevator key here, I think that means he has to go brave the Killer 6 in the pyramid. Sai says that Solar should fight the Vamps as well. He may have to, actually, because if I recall correctly, I believe that Dark Friar was in that dark space that's right next to, that's right in front of the vampires. Okay, so that wasn't a great item. It's the useless black glasses. Oh, so Solar is showing off the fact that in-game spoilers have been removed. Nice try, Dodongo. For those of you who are fans of Homestar Runner, you may not even get that reference. That's a pretty deep, nerdy one that I threw in there. So, props to anybody who can explain what nice try, Dodongo means. Anyway, in-game spoilers is something that I don't think I ever talked about. In all difficulties except for Extreme, there are, I believe, 10 or 11 NPCs or locations that you can talk to or interact with in the game that will reveal the location of one item in the game. And that's one of the locations that at other difficulties you would typically be able to receive a spoiler. But in Extreme, the spoilers have been removed and have been replaced with Nice Try, Dodongo. Okujia says it's a Zelda reference. That's only half of the reference, actually. There's another part of it that's kind of two levels removed from that. Mr. Freet is about to be disappointed in seeing that this chest is only going to have a red jewel, which is absolutely useless to him. I can just hear... I can hear the disappointment. I can't even hear his voice, but I can just see it. I can see it in that pause right there. Okay, did anybody happen to see what Solar got from that NPC? Because that kind of determines where he goes to now. If he found the elevator key, then that means that he's in go mode. It doesn't look like he marked it off, so it looks like he may have to go brave the Killer 6. I'm not sure. He got the dark glasses from the coffin. I saw that, but there was one more item that he got. But it looks like he's gonna go fight the vampires now. So via con Dios, Solar Cell. Mr. Freet following the same breadcrumb trail that Solar followed, in now being able to complete the underground tunnel. Oh, it was an HP jewel. Oh. So, this is probably what Solar is thinking. He's doing the vampire fight now so he can get those extra 3 HP. And then with those 3 HP, he's going to go brave the Killer 6, which probably has the elevator key. Yuri Zahar, do the vampires have names? Yes, I believe their names are Jack and I don't recall. I don't recall the female's name. But yes, they do have names. Trinex says Jerk 1 and Jerk 2. Not too far from the truth. Sylvania. Thank you, Somerset Jayhawk. Jack and Sylvania. Crazy dude, right on the heels with that reference as well. Oh, I was mistaken. This is actually Mr. Freed's first foray into here after getting the prison key, because behind the Gorgon flower was Lily's necklace. Oh, and I forgot that there are items here in Mew that have not been gathered yet, so Solar Cell has one more opportunity here to get an item that could be the elevator key. Let's see if it is. If so, he can skip the Killer 6 and breathe a sigh of relief. The elevator key! Oh, that's lovely to see. And there's Solar, very, very happy that he doesn't have to complete the Killer 6. He is in go mode. He has all the items he needs to complete this seed. In an hour and 38 minutes in, that's really, really good time for both of these races, actually. Oh, you're right, Sai. He's going back. He can go straight to the vampires at this point, but he's going out of his way to go to this one dark space so that he can fight the vampires as Shadow, which not only gives him an extra 2 attack, but it also allows him to use the aura to gain a lot of invincibility frames and do something called the aura glitch, which he's going to show off in this fight, I'm sure. Sai and Tifa are, looks like, a little perplexed at him making this safety move. Maybe he figures he's probably ahead and he can use the time, or maybe it's just a safety thing, because in extreme difficulty, especially, the vampires are not very forgiving. All right, lots of shade being thrown at Solar Cell from chat, saying that, you know, calling his manhood into question and things like that, choosing not to do this as will, but I will offer no commentary on this particular point. Mr. Freed is about to get his necklace. That pause is so telling. It's like, I have to go get Lily and go back into the underground tunnel. I could see him choosing to do the Seaside Palace first, just not wanting to do the tunnel again so quickly. All right, let's move our audio back over to Solar Cell so that we can again enjoy this Mew music for as long as we can, and also get the nice boss music at the vampire fight. Alright, taking a safety save here. Mr. Freet showing off an interesting feature of this game is that if you use the aura, which unlocks Shadow's form, inside of a dark space, you can actually change into Shadow even though the statue does not appear. So thanks for showing that off, Mr. Freet. It's an interesting feature, in quotes. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's totally intended. Oh, thank you, Sai, for bringing up the information on the randomizer while we watch Solar go after the vampires here, showing off this aura glitch where if you hit the aura and the attack button at the same time, you can actually deal continual damage as long as the hitbox is over yours. Alright. Not a bad vampire fight at all from Solar Cell. And that gives him his last mystic statue. Some percent asks, is that a one-time only feature? Yes, because once you unlock Shadow's form and you enter a dark space, then Shadow's statue will always show up there. By the way, for those that know the game really well and are really paying attention, you'll notice that the order of maps in Mew there is a little different than in Vanilla. In Vanilla, you get the mystic statue before you have to fight the vampires. So we actually moved it around a little bit so that you have to fight the vampires before you get the statue. So that's a little programming challenge that was thrown at us. So Mayuko Zero asks, could you take the aura to the dark space closer to the vampires and use aura to become Shadow? Yes. And the reason why Solar couldn't do that in this particular case was because it turns out that dark space had an ability in it. It had Dark Friar in it. And if that happens, any dark space that's used to give you an ability cannot be used later on to change forms. And so that's actually the way it is in the vanilla game, because you get Psycho Slider in that particular dark space. And that's why speedrunners of the game usually fight the vampires as will, because it's too out of the way to go to the other dark space and turn into Freedom to get that extra attack. Alright, so we see Mr. Freet going into the... Is he going in to the pyramid for the first time here, or is he just doing this to brave the Killer 6? It looks like he's going in for the first time. Okay, in the meantime, Solar is going to the end, and check this out. Everybody say, Samlet! Hey, Samlet! Solar not even picking up the item, just showing off Samlet being there. Okay, so the story behind Samlet. Those that know the game, there's a laborer there whose name is Sam, and he gives you an item. The way that this game works, a lot of Super Nintendo games work this way, is that the sprites that you're allowed to display on the screen have to be from the same set. And so if you want to put Kara's portrait in there, which is from the Angel Village set, there's not an easy way to juxtapose that and also have the laborers in there, which is from the Frisia Diamond Mine, sprite set. And so we have a bit of a challenge there. So what we ended up doing was, because Hamlet's sprite happens to be in the same set as Kara's portrait, we just changed Sam, the laborer, into Samlet, the pig. And because of the way that the palettes work out, Samlet ends up being a blue pig, and we were fine with that, so we all got to see Samlet the blue pig. Alright, and Solar has completed everything he needs to do to complete the seed, and so he's off to fight Dark Gaia and get his well-deserved GGs. Look at that clean inventory. Oh, Mr. Freet having some trouble in the pyramid. Alright, so we're looking at probably a sub 150 from Solar Cell on this seed, which is pretty good. Pretty good. The average has turned out to be around 2 hours, it looks like, for a Dark Gaia 4 statue seed. Kaboom asking, what is Freet missing to be in Go mode? He hasn't found... let's see, I believe in Pyramid he gets both mine keys. He looks like he's got one of them. He still needs to get another one. He needs to get the elevator key in order to be able to even use those mind keys, and he needs to find the 4th crystal ball in order to fight Viper. So unfortunately, he's a bit behind Solar. It'll take him a while to catch up. Oh, getting that demoralizing nothing item from that hieroglyph. Yeah, Sai's saying this will be a new PB for Solar for this set of flags. Alright, now those speedrunners of the game that are more familiar with me, are we in 3-cycle territory for Solar's Dark Gaia fight? If your attack inputs are perfect, you can get 3 cycles in on Dark Gaia. Oh, 3-cycle! GG Solar, 147.41. Good game indeed. All right, let's bring up Freet's audio so that we can bring Solar in. Oh, it looks like Mr. Freet might be. Is he gonna finish? You think, or is he gonna come in? Anyway. All right, let's give Solar the go-ahead to come in for an interview. Okay, Mr. Free just needed a moment to collect himself, it looks like, and he's back to it. Oh, looks like Solar's in here. Hello, Solar. Good game.
1 second.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, let me take this opportunity to answer Cohen is asking, is it extreme category that Solar only has to have 4 statues? You can determine the number of statues that are required when you create the seed. So you can have it set to anywhere between 0 and 6 statues required. 0 statue seeds are fun because all you have to do is get the aura and rescue Kara. So that ends up being kind of a mad dash with no bosses necessary. These are set to 4 statue seeds. You can have it set to be a random number of statues, whatever you would like. Solar,
Okay, I am back.
You're back?
I am back.
Solar. GG, man. That's a
Thank
PB
you,
for
thank
you, isn't it?
you. Yeah, there's definitely a PB for an extreme seed for me.
Excellent. How you feeling?
I am just on a rush right now between the RNG just kind of lining up for where I decided to go and that cast off, right?
Yeah, dude, hey, 2-cycle, man. Yeah, we were all pog champing it up for you here in chat. That was incredible. Good job.
Thank you.
Sure. So yeah, the pacing was a little slower than the last one. You had to do a little bit of back and forth there, like triple dipping into the underground tunnel there. Finding the necklace, having to come back. So there's a little bit of trolling this there. But overall,
yeah, and all that was.
Go ahead.
Well, that was all fine. I mean, I figured it would have to be something like that. The beginning of the run wasn't really like that. We just kind of had to go where we were governed. But I'll say I had to hold the seething rage from the aura barrier I picked up for the first move.
We saw that. Yeah,
You're killing me, man.
We could feel it even without the mic. We could feel the rage.
So how's Mr. Freet doing right now?
He's going through Pyramid right now, and kind of struggling. He took a death just now, but yeah, he still needs to find the elevator key. He still needs to find his last crystal ball. So he hasn't yet gotten statues 2 or 3 yet.
Okay, yeah, for extreme definitely. You always want to save the the vampire fight for last. It's really a nightmare without Shadow.
Yeah, we saw that you were getting some shade from some chat about the decision to go the long way around and pick up Shadow's form before fighting the vampires. What
Chat, what would you expect me to do? Someone decided to give us a randomized seed where the dark space where you pick up vanilla slider was occupied with a Freedan move, so I couldn't change into anything there.
Yeah, well, I think some people were calling your manhood into question, or I don't know. You'll have to go back and
Wow, wow. How about everybody in chat right now download the randomizer and search it out for yourself.
All right, so the gauntlet has been thrown down from Solar Cell 007, asking people to do the. Oh, it looks like Mr. Freet's going to do Killer 6 right now. Did you end up doing Killer 6? I don't remember seeing that.
I did not, and thankfully we didn't have to.
Yeah, I don't know what. I'm curious what's going to be here, but Mr. Freet's going for it. All right, well, it's been, yeah, good game, Solar. It's been really a pleasure working with you and everybody else, but it's really fun to see.
It's been a blast working for all this with you. You really did us a service by putting this out here, and I'm happy that we could show you a good couple of races today.
Yes, thank you to RPG Limit Break for giving us the opportunity to show off the randomizer. For those that are interested, type in the rando command. You'll see it looks like Tifa did it recently. You'll get a link both to our Discord. We have the nicest community on the face of the planet. So many people just love the game and want as many people to play the randomizer as possible. So, you know, there's no stupid question. Just come on and say, it's like, hey, how do I enjoy the game? You'll find somebody willing to show you the ropes. You also get a link to the GitHub where you can download the game. For our Windows and Linux users, we have an executable package. And then for everybody else, as long as you have Python, taking a death there at Killer 6. Rip Freet. As long as you have Python on your computer, you should be able to run the Python code, the Python scripts directly. Everything's open source. So, have at it. Everyone should be able to enjoy the game as long as you have a US version of the ROM. You should be good to go. One technical note, actually, there is a US version of the ROM that's floating around somewhere that has an offset to it that really throws off the internal addressing. And so, unfortunately, you have to have a specific version of the US version in order for it to work. So if you end up having the wrong one, I apologize. There are places where you can get, the version that actually works.
Did you mention anything about Windows 10 and the possibility of Windows Defender not liking it?
I have not. This is a feature, in quotes, of PyInstaller, which is the platform that I use to create the executable version of the file. It's kind of a known issue that executables made with this package can trip up some antivirus and Windows Defender issues, even though they're safe. So you would have to create an exception in Windows Defender for the executable to work on your PC. If you're squeamish about it and you don't trust that, I totally understand that. The Python scripts are available for you in the Python version. Oh, Mr. Freet just realized he came all the way to the coffin in Seaside Palace. He realized he forgot to pick up Lily. So even though he has the necklace, he realizes he just made his mistake. I think he's probably deciding now whether he wants to continue on or whether he wants to forfeit. I would not blame him. Oh, turn down solar. Sorry, I just now saw that.
Goodbye, chat.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for Mr. Free, but it looks like he's gonna muscle it out.
That's good. That's good. For any potential speedrunners of the vanilla any percent or 100% for Illusion of Gaia, might I suggest that you also pick up the randomizer? Not run them both at the same time because it'll really destroy your mind, but practice all this movement tech in the randomizer, and I promise you, it makes you so much better when doing the speed run. I know Mr. Freet and Sai and myself can attest to that for sure.
Yeah, and it's great to know that, because I'm not a speedrunner of this game. I'm barely above casual, if that, and so it's nice to know that to have established speedrunners like Solar and up and coming speedrunners like Mr. Freet, kind of hear Sai, everybody else, hearing from them that this game really has helped them tighten up their speed runs of the vanilla game. That's just, I was really hoping that would be the case, and it's really good to hear that. Solar, do you want to talk at all about something that's been interesting for me as a non-speedrunner of this game, is seeing the randomizer specific strategies and techniques kind of come out in this game, because there are certain situations that you'll be in where you have certain abilities that you would never have in the vanilla game. You know, like Psy 990's discovery that you can do the ramp glitch even with slider. You know, can you talk about your perspective on doing this project and just seeing those kinds of strategies that are only specific to the randomizer come up?
Sure. So one thing I noticed right off the bat, because it really affected the 100% speedrun, was the pathing through all of the areas. There's a definite difference, and if you do one more than the other, like say if you were doing the rando too often and then went back to speedrunning, you would lose a lot of time trying to go the course of the rando. It's really something that messes with your mind. I know there was one time, it was early on when we were discussing dark space abilities and where to put them, and how the Great Wall, there's a possibility that there's an ability that is not speedrun specific and not rando specific. I remember we were talking about it, the possibility of having to use Freedan in the Great Wall to go backwards to check the dark space with all the ramps. I think it's in the third screen.
Yeah.
That's not specific to vanilla, or I want to say the ramp. It's a weird technique, a weird pathing choice that you have to realize when going through that.
Right, and that's the interesting thing about really looking at this game and how it's put together. I think the Great Wall, like you brought up, is a perfect example where that dark space that normally you're supposed to use spin dash, you know, to get back through to that dark space and use that. It actually turns out that that's the only dark space that is accessible without any abilities. Like if you don't have spin dash, you can actually access that area if you have Freedan. And so the way that it works in the randomizer is that the location that typically has spin dash in it, which is from falling down all those levels, that will always be open, because that's the only one you can get to without having any abilities. And then the dark space that can have an ability is actually the one backtracking after changing forms. So yeah, stuff like that, it's just, you never think about it in a vanilla run of this game.
Then there's also when you get a move earlier than when you normally in a speed run, like in Inca Ruins, when the speedrunners are used to doing ramp glitches to bounce off the ramps and go across certain areas. If you get slider, you can't really do that, and so it forces you to also play through the game like you would casually, going to pick Freedan up to do that and kill that giant head in Inca Ruins. So there's a few things. If you get spin dash, you can go over all these ramps early on, which really, you have to think on your feet as you're going through the speed run to think, okay, what moves do I have and what does that give me access to?
Right.
And how much backtracking am I going to have to do if I make a choice to go for something that has a lower probability of giving me what I want?
Okay,
It's
yeah.
quite the thinker.
It looks like Mr. Freet is in chat now with us to join us. So, Mr. Freet,
Hello,
welcome.
Hello.
How are you doing, sir?
GG, Stola.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Freet?
Rough. That was super rough.
Oh.
Yeah, you're getting lots of love in
Hard
chat,
stop
Mr.
one.
Freet, for just the
Well,
difficulties there at the end.
Yeah, sorry I gave up, but there was I actually, right at that moment, once I got the black glasses, I don't know what I've forgotten.
Yeah, that
I
was
suppose you could
kind of
enlighten me.
demoralizing. That, you know, getting those glasses in that location.
The elevator key. That would have actually, no. I still needed the elevator key, because if I remember right, Kara was in Diamond Mine.
That's correct.
Yes, that's right. And I think the elevator key was the last thing I got, I want to say.
Yeah, that seems right. Either that or the crystal ball. Yeah, I think the elevator key is the last thing.
So I must have picked that up in Mu, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. That was in the Rama statue location north.
Yeah,
I died in trying to get a Rama chest.
Oh, you did. That's right. Yeah, that's where the elevator key
The
was.
north one.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
got both the chests. No way. All right, okay.
anyway, it was super entertaining watching both of you run this game. Mr. Freet, what were your thoughts through the game? In the beginning of the game, I just had lots of PogChamp moments, watching you with your signature Freet dash. You know, like just getting through those enemies, and your gameplay was just solid. And I feel like there came a time when you were just having difficulties, and it was really heartbreaking. But what was your experience like running through this particular seed?
This seed was, if I can hardly remember the first half. The bit that I remember about the first half was sure Fryer was in there. It turned out it wasn't. That felt pretty bad.
Yeah.
I had a clean sky gun. I just come forth a lot. And lost my dash early on, I think.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
remember getting Slider and thinking, ooh, Solo might not have got this yet.
How'd you feel about getting Aura Barrier, Mr. Freet?
Learn. Well, oh, Earthquaker as well. Oh,
It was funny seeing both of you. I mean, we couldn't hear you, of course, because you were off mic, but just seeing little ways that we knew when you guys were raging. It's like you. I think my favorite moment in this race was Solar, when you were going through Inca ruins and you were going to get the wind melody, and you were trying to be careful, inching past that four-way, and he hit you anyway, and then you just murdered him out of cold-blooded spite. I love
that was
moment.
pure rage at that thing.
That made me so happy. It just really did.
I wanted to show off the nice try to Dongo too.
Oh yeah, we saw that too. That was the coffin one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody got the full reference there. I mean, admittedly, it's very deep. I think I explained it to the Discord community at one point, just how deep that rabbit hole goes and where that comes from. But it just shows how much of a nerd I am, and there you have it, universe. So yeah, it's a Homestar Runner reference, but it's an actual. Okay, you won't actually find it in any of the Homestar Runner videos. It's actually only something that you can find by deconstructing a flash file of one of the videos and reading something that's behind a barrier. So it's really yeah.
That deep lore right there.
Deep lore. The lore of this game goes so deep. Deep something at least. So anyway, is there anything either of you wanted to add, just in your experience in being a part of this? Which, by the way, I have been so blessed by. You guys are just perfect examples of just how incredible this community has been. Type in the rando command in chat, and you'll see a link to our Discord. You'll meet some of the greatest people ever in speedrunning. You'll also get a link to where you can download and play this right now. This was released to the public just 2 days ago. Thank you, Sai, for that. And yeah, be sure to follow our runners. Given the runner command, you can see, follow these people, support your favorite speedrunners. No need to follow me. I'm never on Twitch, but you can do it if you like. So yeah, Mr. Freet, Solar Cell, anything you wanted to add, just about the whole experience or the game?
I think I just want to thank you, Bagu, for giving us this opportunity, and everyone in chat, please give a follow to Bagu. If you want to join the Discord, please do. He doesn't have enough to do on his plate, so if you want to start joining the Rando, please join. Offer any kinds of bugs, playtesting, and tips, because this is not where the Rando stops. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bagu, but I'm sure he's going to keep working on things, keep messing with the logic, and I'm excited to have this community grow as far as the Rando.
Yeah, agreed. And I wasn't fishing for that, but thank you. The more the merrier as far as the community is concerned. We're open to all kinds of suggestions as far as where you'd like to see this go. I know on my plate, I'd love to get to where this game has an Randomizer, boss shuffle, entrance randomizer, anything else like that. Any other ideas you have? Eventually, if somebody can teach me how to do Lua scripting, I'd love to see co-op runs of this. so the sky's the limit, really, and the ideas really come from the community. So if I can learn to do it, I'll learn to do it. This has been a great learning experience, and I've really appreciated it. Mr. Freet, anything you wanted to add?
No, I was just going to thank you for obviously all the hard work you've done. You've been doing this for a few months. Just like you, I was like, I want to find a randomizer of this game. It took quite a while to actually find like your blog, and then I was like, oh, someone's making a randomizer. And things went on from there.
Yeah, and I
Running,
just gotta
so
say, sorry, go ahead.
basically it.
So I just want to say, Mr. Freet, for you in particular, it was so fun to watch you become a speedrunner of this game based off of your experience with the randomizer. Like I saw, like you came into the randomizer community and started playing through it, and being one of the premier kind of play testers who would play the game more often. Really helped us find bugs and make the game better. And then all of a sudden you decide to speedrun the game. And how long have you been speedrunning the game? Like maybe a couple months?
I think month and a half.
A month and a half, and your PB is already down to 2 hours 6 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's just an insane curve of skill to just be able to get that level and that smoothness in that short amount of time. And it's just really, I feel like one of my children has become a speedrunner of the game or something like that. It's just I'm so proud of you. It's so fun to watch you make that journey and to continue on that journey after this. I'm sure you will. 100% speed runs when ? Kind of a thing. So
Yeah, I've got to give that a try. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think with that, join the community. Thanks for watching. Download the Rando, play it yourself. If you have ideas, shout us out in Discord. Let us know what we can do to make this game better, to make the experience better. Thank you so much to RPG Limit Break for hosting us on this, showing this to the world and getting to use their platform as a way to get this into as many hands as possible. Because really, no one's making any money from this, of course. It's just, we just love the game. We want more people to enjoy it in a different way. Enjoy. This is just for the world to enjoy and to experience. If you have any questions for us, again, our community is the best in the world. Talk to any of us. There's going to be somebody that's going to answer your questions. If you're interested at all in doing anything at all with it, from just playing it to being a play tester for future versions and features that come out, sky's the limit. You're more than welcome. So thanks again to RPG Limit Break. Some specific shout outs that I wanted to give. I wanted to give a shout out to Mana Freak. I mentioned him in the credits at the end. Gaia, the creator.blogspot.com is his development blog. He is he's a coder who's been working on a ROM hacking tool for the illusion of Gaia, and I'm telling you, I have no experience beyond this project or before this project of anything like ROM hacking or game programming or anything like this. If I had not found his tool, this project would not exist, period. It just would never have gotten off the ground. I wouldn't have known where to start. Just having that tool at my disposal was just really great. There's another member of our community, Raven Zero, who really taught me how assembly code works and how to reverse engineer how games are done. And he's just been a super support to me, and just really patient with teaching me the ropes. And specifically, when I get to a dead end as far as what I want to implement in this game in particular, he's really helped with that. And so just shout outs to them. I could mention specific people in the community, but play through the game yourself, read the credits at the end, and you'll see a shout out to everybody who had any kind of input into this. You guys are the best. This has been so much fun, probably some of the most fun I've had in my life working on this project and getting to know all of you. Thank you, bless you, and thanks again to RPG Limit Break for the opportunity today. All right, everybody take care, and thanks for watching.